I went to 4 Wales international games in 2019. One was at Wrexham, that was a friendly against Trinidad and Tobago, and the other 3 were down in the capital, Cardiff. One was a friendly, the other 2 were competitive games, Euro qualifiers, and it was the final one, which incidentally was the last game that I went to on an international level due to the coronavirus situation, but it was the last one that was the icing on the cake because Wales beat Hungary 2-0 to qualify for the Euro 2020, which incidentally is being played next year now due to the aforementioned situation. But it was a great night. I really enjoyed it. As you can see, I've got a Wales shirt on, and although I'm born in England and I'm proud to be English, by the way, I'm also equally, and I use the word equally very carefully, equally proud of my Welsh roots. So for me, it's all about identity, how you feel, and the two sit very comfortably side by side in my own life. Anyway, back to the game itself. Prior to the match, walking down to the stadium, it's the Cardiff City Stadium that Wales uses predominantly for home games. Walking down, there were a group of football fans, pro-Welsh independence supporters, and they were chanting and marching down the street. And of course, as you can imagine, lots of anti-English songs in there as well, lots of anti-English chants. I actually listen to it and it doesn't bother me. Although I'm English, I do identify very, very much with my Welsh side. But as far as that sort of thing is concerned, that's not what my identity is about. But I was actually thinking to myself, I wonder how many of those fans will be cheering on. Hopefully, because we did win 2-0, but I was thinking, hopefully, if we win, how many of those Welsh fans will be cheering on English-born players later, even though a couple of hours previously they were chanting anti-English songs. Well, I went through the team sheet, and of course not much football at the moment, certainly as far as I'm concerned. So it was a chance to drop a football related blog in with what is predominantly fishing at the moment. So I went through the team sheet the other day, and from the starting 11 there were 4 English born players. Chris Mepham, I've started so I'll finish. Chris Mepham, Joe Morrell, Kiefer Moore and Daniel James were all born in England, and there were 2 substitutions that we used, and one of them, Ethan Ampadu, also was born in England. Out of the 5, 3 of them have a Welsh parent and 2 have to go back to their grandparents, which is the limit as far as going back is concerned for qualification to be eligible to play for another country other than the one you were born in. So that means 36% of the starting lineup were born in England, and 38%, if you include the 13 players used, were born the other side of the border. Where am I going with this? I suppose in terms of life lesson, we have to just make sure that what we believe, what we say, and how we live our lives coordinates. Sometimes there can be a discrepancy with what we believe or what we say or how we live our lives. It's just a case of making sure that there's a harmony and a fluidity between this and this and that, because some of those chants were quite brutal. Some of those chants were, well, obviously lots of bad language. That's what we hear at football games, of course. Lots of anti-English feeling, but then a few hours later cheering on those players. Just make sure, and I'm not talking about a football game, that's just an example, but just make sure that in life in general, that there is that harmony between what happens here, what comes out there, and ultimately how we live our lives as a result of that. Harmony and fluidity and consistency.